Justin from Stillness in the Storm here. As you might see, we are in front of the Federal Reserve Building. I just so happen to be fortunate enough in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to discuss with you the nature of money and what I'm calling the fallacious concept of asset-backed currency. So a lot of us have heard recently how the benefits of gold and precious metals and various other commodities to back currency. And that is valid because we do need some type of way of keeping currency consistent. So one of the things that currency needs to do is it needs to be measurable, consistently measurable. So a dollar should be able to buy a loaf of bread in 100 years just as much as it can buy a loaf of bread today, or whatever that price happens to be. And so one of the problems with the Federal Reserve System is that the value of currency changes drastically. It's called inflation or deflation. So the value of the dollar has actually decreased significantly. I think the last estimate I saw was about 98% since it was originally introduced, the Federal Reserve note, back in 1913. So where does money actually come from? Well, that's a big answer right there. But the short answer from a lawful perspective is that money comes from accounting. So when you have two individuals, and those individuals, whether or not they're actual natural persons or corporations, anytime you have an enterprise where an individual thing can generate value, that value that they generated can be traded with other individuals. And there's an accounting system that needs to happen. So if person A, let's say myself, I'm Justin, I want to trade with you some goods or services related to something that you're doing or I'm doing. I have my set of books for how much it costs to produce that thing. Let's say I'm producing pancakes. I make the best pancakes you've ever had. Okay, well, I say that the value of my pancakes is some amount, like 10 Justin currency units. And I want to trade my pancakes to you for a gallon of milk. And you've determined that it takes 20 currency units to produce a gallon of milk for you. So how is it that we can trade? Because I have my own unique version of currency units that are needed for my accounting system, which is different from your accounting system. Well, this is where a societal money system was introduced. Previously, we'd have to find some type of neutral thing that we can use as a barter and trade system. So maybe we'd convert our products into sticks. So for example, in England at one time, there were these things called tally sticks, and you'd be able to actually take promises to pay and exchange the tally sticks, the debt note instruments, to facilitate goods and services. So what money really is at an accounting level, at a lawful level, when two individuals who have the capacity to create things want to trade their services, they need some measure, some arbitrary measure of value to exchange those services. Now, in history, that arbitrary measure of value could be something real, like beans or eggs or pine needles. It really doesn't matter. Or it could be pieces of paper that say dollars on it. Okay? And in that second case, that's what's called fiat currency. So when we get to this question of what I'm calling a fallacious concept of an asset-backed value system, it's the idea that it's the asset that backs the currency that makes the currency worth something. And that's not actually true. That'll certainly add stability to it. So we might create a system of agreements that says, for me to trade my pancakes with you for your gallon of milk, we're going to use something like gold or acorns that we're going to say have some kind of fixed value. And because of that fixed value, we'll be able to assess the value of our goods and services in a more stable fashion. But that doesn't mean that the value itself came from the thing that we're deciding to use as our currency. So when the question of, well, why is gold or asset-backed currency something beneficial? What makes it beneficial is because it adds stability to the currency, but it's more of a band-aid to a greater symptom, which is that we, the people, have forgotten how to use money properly because we don't keep good records, we don't know the law, we don't manage our assets, we don't manage our estate properly. So this is where the law side of the equation comes in. When we embody our truly sovereign selves, we're able to competently manage our own energy production and good production and service production, and we know how to value that properly, then what can we do? We can exchange that as sovereign beings with other sovereign beings. And it's that exchange point that actually sets the value. So remember, if I want to trade my flapjacks with Joe, who has got a gallon of milk, we can just come up with an exchange system right then and there on the spot, and we don't actually need money to do it. And that exchange system might be something energetic or intangible, like love, like fellowship, like trust. I might pay it forward. I might tell him or her, listen, you know what? I'm just going to give you my flapjacks. You get me back whenever you can. I trust that you're a creative being, and because we have trust and rapport with each other, I know that eventually you're going to do something that benefits me, and I don't need a direct connection. Just continue to do everything you're going to do in society beneficially, and I will be improved. I will receive the benefit I need. And maybe they'll have the same perspective. That's what I call a credit-backed asset system, or you might call a moneyless money system. So the real big point I want to make here about money is that it's fallacious to assume that the source of what makes money valuable is gold or diamonds or anything tangible like that. What actually makes money valuable is our choice to use it to exchange goods and services between each other. So in order to really get at the core value here, and again, don't believe me blindly, please go out and do your own research. I studied the law for years to come to this understanding. When you want to really understand how to value your services, or to get to the core solution, we have to take the time to understand how to evaluate the fruit of our own labor. How do we know how much it costs us to produce the thing that we're trying to exchange with other people? Well, if you're like most people, you have no clue, because you have no idea what your value is. You've never actually thought about it logically and succinctly. You might have thought about it energetically. You might have said, well, I'm the value, I'm an infinite being, and that's great, don't get me wrong. That's definitely a good part of it. But we also need to bring in the logical side too. We need to actually assess our value in relation to the goods and services we produce, in relation to the demand of society and things like this. And this is a complex process to go through. So by having this better understanding of our relationship to money, and I know that's kind of a a preachy kind of thing to say, like, oh, well, Justin, it's making you seem like, you've got this kind of master knowledge of money. And I'm not trying to assert that, but I am, through the knowledge I've possessed, I'm offering for you to consider the fact that maybe this idea that making gold or palladium or any other type of asset the source of the value is really just a temporary or half of a solution. We need the whole solution, which is the knowledge that we have and knowing how to use the tool of money properly, wisely, and as sovereign beings. So thank you, everybody, for watching this video. Thank you, Federal Reserve, for giving me an opportunity to speak this amazing video out into the world. You can follow my work at stillnessinthestorm.com. I greatly appreciate all of the Patreon supporters and other support that we receive here at Stillness in the Storm. If it wasn't for your support, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you again, much love, and keep seeking the truth. Godspeed.